Good Monday morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Kaiser Report. I'm here with Kaiser right behind me on the couch. We've had one heck of a weekend and news cycles going on through this weekend over the murder of Charlie Kirk. And most of the mainstream media carried it ad nauseum throughout the week. And also now this morning, MSNBC and Morning Jackass over there with Mika and the crew at MSNBC Morning Show from 6 o'clock on have been inciting one more time, trying to cause or say that there is a cause for a civil war here in the United States over the fact that Kirk was murdered. And then tried to equate the murdering of Charlie Kirk with what went on in Minnesota with the lawmakers that were killed there, forgetting to add to their story that these people, first of all, the shooter there was an appointee by Tim Walz, and we don't know all the specifics on that, so I'm not going to go into detail on it, but it certainly was not a MAGA-related deal. And then he starts to equate this morning, and I'll let you see this here in a minute, all about Nancy Pelosi's husband being hit with a hammer, and no one got upset over that. Well, that pulled up a news cycle that was quite revealing in some cases, and then left a lot to be desired with regard to the cover-up of it all, of who it was. First, they tried to say that he was a MAGA supporter, which turned out to be a falsehood. Then they talked about the people in Minnesota, which were Democrats, and again, not part and parcel to anything to do with MAGA or Trump or any of the indications that they're trying to give you this morning. This is just more by Morning Joe, Mika, and the crew over there to say, look over here what happened. Don't look right here where it's in front of your face that you watched on TV take place. Their lies are tantamount to what's wrong in this country today. CNN is much the like of MSNBC. Their changes at MSNBC were supposed to be helpful to the fact that Morning Joe had to clean up his act a little bit, but someone needs to look into this. And where in the heck is our FCC that would allow out-and-out lies and innuendos that will whip up some problems? And as we see today on this program, when we get into what does it all mean, you'll quickly see how the left drives the narrative. And I have to ask you all to stop and have a prayer for these people, that they come to their senses and stop the lying and the hate and the division that they have brought into this country over this last election cycle, and going back to 10 years or 11, 12 years ago, right into the Bush administration, where we have been out and out lied to on a grand scale when you stop and think about the war that took place in Iraq and Afghanistan and so on and so on. We have some real characters sitting in our Congress as well. I'm not going to get into a lot of this today, but if you take a minute to go and peruse this particular platform and X, and I guess, well, you really don't want to go and step into Reddit, because that place is a bastion of crazies in there that have opinions that really should not be spread amongst this nation. But I have to ask you this. If the tables were turned and this was someone like George Floyd, we saw what happened there. Charlie Kirk was killed. No cities were burned. No people were stopped and accosted in the street over it. There were prayer vigils in every city across the nation. And every college campus across the nation, maybe save one or two, had prayer vigils going on. No cities were burned. No cars were overturned and burned. And no businesses were looted over this. Did they have a chance to act this way? Yes, but the right does not act in that fashion. I'm sorry, folks. The left side acts this way. If that's not clear and evident to you now, I don't know what will be. But prayer is the answer to all of this. And I sat in church this weekend, and I heard a beautiful sermon. It was the celebration of the cross this weekend, and I heard not one word about the killing that took place and took over the news cycle for an entire week in this country. I don't know if that's the Catholic Church's stance on say nothing, but I would think that all religious sects would have called for the repose of the soul of a kind gentleman that was out there with a message of love, a message of being close to the Lord Jesus Christ. And do you think that some of these pastors, some of these priests, no matter what religion, would have said a prayer for the repose of the soul of Charlie Kirk over this past weekend? I am somewhat dismayed that I did not hear that in the church, my church, during Mass this past weekend. That leads me to believe that someone higher up in the hierarchy has decided that they didn't want to be involved. We all need to be involved, and we all need to be involved in the name of Christ. Not civil war, as Morning Jackass this morning is trying to portray, will take place because of one side of the aisle or the other. There is no reason for either of these sides of the aisle to do anything but hang their head and show some remorse for the guilt that they portray in the rhetoric that will carry this nation into a divided nation. Why they think that this will work over the fact that they lost an election and they've lost relevance through their own demonization of this government is beyond me. All we can do is vote and pray for the thoughts and prayers are needed to make this country right one more time as it was designed by the founding fathers to be. One nation under God. When you push God from this nation, you create lawlessness. When you allow lawlessness to continue, you create chaos. When you create enough chaos, the devil takes over, and they then win. And everyone involved loses. And the loss will be that of our souls and our peace of mind, our country, and the world as we know it. So, if you haven't said a prayer for the future of this country, I urge you all to drop to a knee and beg Jesus to help us in this time of craziness and confusion that is being perpetrated on us by not only our sitting politicians, but a news media that has gone the way of ruination for themselves and the society that takes what they say as gospel. We have gospels. The gospels can be found in the Bible. It can be found in the catechisms in the religious classes. It can be found in your own mind if you quiet yourself and listen to what the Lord tells you every day. But we choose to worship a phone, an iPad, or a computer over the word of the law and the Lord. So with that, I'll show you here what Morning Jackass's show had to say today, and from that, you can draw your own conclusions, but I have, and a lot more like me probably will draw that same conclusion. Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski and that whole sycophant bunch that they put onto that show, including that POS, Al Sharpton, should be ashamed of themselves, and their network should put them off the air. They are helping to cause chaos, hate, and discontent. Just look here.
Well, and a big part of the problem there, and Jonathan Lemire, we've seen it. We've seen it since the tragedy of Charlie Kirk. A lot of it is that there are people on cable news networks, there are people running podcasts that are talking about civil war. Of course, they talked about civil war before, but they're talking about civil war and needing to go after the left, and they're coming after us. We need to, Elon Musk retweeting tweets in the hours after the tragic death of Charlie Kirk. But again, some of the same people that barely said a word, certainly didn't call for civil war after a Democratic legislator this past summer, the leader of the Democrats, got slaughtered in her home along with her husband by a man with a Democratic hit list of 42 Democrats, a kill list. We heard nothing about that. We heard nothing from these people who are now talking about the need for civil war and to go after the left, the wackos on the far left. We heard nothing about that after Josh Shapiro and his family were sleeping inside their home when somebody tried to burn it down and said they wanted to take a hammer to Governor Shapiro's head. We heard nothing about a civil war then. We certainly didn't after Paul Pelosi. In fact, you will remember, as I remember very well, not only were they not talking about civil war, there were actually some people mocking and ridiculing Paul Pelosi, some prominent Republican figures mocking and ridiculing Paul Pelosi and Nancy Pelosi, and even suggesting that the man who attacked him was in a gay relationship with him for years. So to hear these people talking about civil war now, just again is baffling when they seem so disinterested when the killings, when the attempted killings, when the assaults were on the other side. I think again, every sane American, every American I've actually spoken to in person since the terrible, terrible tragedy, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, have been horrified and asked the same question: when is this going to end? How can we come together? How had one law enforcement officer say, how do we keep social media away from our children How much longer does this continue? But we're just not hearing it from people that are trying to fan the flames and talking about civil war. I wish we could come together as Americans after a tragedy, after this summer, Democrats are slaughtered while sleeping in their bedrooms, and when Republicans are assassinated, going out talking to college students, for God's sake.
Yeah. The prospect of an actual civil war is too horrifying to comprehend, and that rhetoric needs to go away. But that's not what's happening here. We are seeing figures on the right, within moments of Charlie Kirk's terrible death, rushing to blame left-wing activists for it, without any evidence, without even at that moment knowing who the suspect was. You are so right to point to the double standard here. Some of the loudest voices of the Republican Party, including the current president of the United States, turned the attack on Paul Pelosi into a running gag. Trump will use it as a running punchline at his rallies. Paul Pelosi nearly died. The White House did not send a delegation to Minnesota this summer when that state lawmaker was killed. That didn't happen. And there's been an effort here to sort of cast about from the right, sort of pointing fingers at the left to sort of claim that Democratic politicians are reveling in Charlie Kirk's death. That's simply not been the case. People have been responsible. They've been mournful. This is an American tragedy. It's not just a Republican tragedy. It's not a Democratic tragedy. It's an American tragedy. But there is this sort of sense of this could be a pretense for some sort of crackdown, and that would be just make things worse. It would fan the flames. There's so little we know yet about this shooter and his motives. And again, they almost shouldn't matter, because what happened here, it's a culture, a society where we've had this rise in political violence. We are awash in guns. It's clear. One thing we do know about this individual, a lot of time online, that the worries of the dangers of social media become more and more clear each and every day. That's what we should be focusing on. And I'll just note the governor there from Utah said again, he said a few different times in the last couple of days, I think this is important. He made it clear the killing of Charlie Kirk was the acts of one individual. It wasn't a conspiracy. It wasn't a movement. It wasn't about a political party. It was about one individual. And he seemed to be aiming that message straight at the Oval Office, trying to say, look, this is a time for trying to bring a nation together. This nation is wounded, Joe and Mika. It is grieving. It is scared. It's time for healing. It's time, finally, for a message of unity, not division.
The nation does need to come together, and we need to stop, and we need to think, what kind of nation have we become when you can't have a political figure, a podcaster going on a college campus to debate politics, to aggressively debate politics. What kind of nation have we become when a president can't campaign without having 2 assassination attempts on him? What kind of nation have we become when a Democratic leader can't go to bed with her husband at night without fears of being killed in their home, or a state senator in that same state can't go to sleep with his wife without fears of being gunned down and killed? And this goes back. I mean, we could talk about all the anti-Semitic attacks, the anti-Semitic attack at the Israeli embassy earlier this year, the firebombing out in Colorado. We could talk about the Tree of Life. We go all the way back to 2017 and the congressional softball game.
They have to go, or they have to be told to stop spreading the lies that they spread every day of the week. And that'll take Kaiser and I into bring you What Does It All Mean? After that, we are not going to have a stupid town today, because the stupidity is out there, and God only knows I can run an hour-long segment on just stupid town. But there is an air that requires silence, more silence, and less fun and laughter until this whole rigmarole of a court case and finding out who did what and who shot who is over and done with. It has soaked into the news cycle to a point now where you probably do want to turn off the TV and walk away from the news. And I wouldn't blame any of you for doing that. And those of you that are trolling through X and this platform, especially those that are going into Reddit and Truth Social, there's some real mentally damaged people on that, and you should not argue with them because, number one, you're not going to get anywhere with these people because they are dyed-in-the-wool, convinced that they are right, and there is no telling them truth or fact because they're not going to accept it. And for those that are celebrating the death of any individual, I don't care if it's Charlie Kirk or the man on the corner down the block. You don't celebrate the death of anyone, especially a violent death, as we've seen take place in this country in the last few weeks. The Ukrainian girl on the train. You'll see that here shortly. And things of that nature that should not take place should not ever be celebrated by anyone. That just points to the fact that people have been tainted by not only the news cycles, but by the minions of the devil himself. The demonization has taken place over the last 10 years of a large swath of the world's population. Look at what happened in London over the weekend with the millions of people that took to the street to talk about their plight. I didn't see any buildings burning. I didn't see any cars overturned or burning. The world is going to go back to God. The world is starting to recognize one more time that Jesus Christ gave his life on the cross to save our worthless souls. And to act in the fashion that the world has been acting in over the last decade or so is a plight that needs to be addressed, and addressed through prayer and also understanding by all parties involved that there may be more than two sides to every story. You may have a valid reasoning in your mind for what you think, but it should be discussed. It should be debated, whether it's on a public stage or amongst a family member sitting across the dinner table. It should be debated, not in anger, not in disgust, but in true thinking. We are all endowed with the power of thought. Use it. Bring back common sense. Bring back an educational process that means something. Bring back civil discourse. Not reaction to someone else's ideas or ideals as it is today. Show understanding and compassion. You'll get a lot further down the road. And with that, what does it all mean as we see it today?
I'm so fucking stoked. Go ahead and Google Charlie Kirk. Go ahead, read the latest headlines.
Charlie Kirk just got shot in the neck. Hey, ooh, ah, ooh.
Okay, Donald Trump's here, so let's say Donald Trump.
It doesn't hurt.
Down there.
Or
Does it have like a laser?
I'm not sure it's actually that far.
I feel like there needs to be a laser on this thing. Or do you,
Well, this is.
Oh!
Hey!
He's gone. I saw the video before they even put out the confirmation. This wasn't the one we were hoping for, but a welcome surprise nonetheless. Rest in peace, you won't be missed, Charlie.
The point that I was trying to make is how peaceful the left was. Right before he got shot. And that only makes sense if we stay peaceful.
You are commanded to go do something productive with your life.
Wow.
To go give and to produce and to risk and to then go sow into other people. That is a biblical idea that has made the world a profoundly better place.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
You could be associated with one thing. How would you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. The most important thing is my faith.
I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Well, I hope you got something from that. Some parts were rather poignant, and I ask you all to pray, and pray every day for peace among goodwill and men, that we can get together one more time and have a discussion, that our leaders can sit down in the Senate, in the House of Representatives, or in the Oval Office, and debate a subject without the hate, without the rhetoric, and stay away from the microphones so you can get airtime and spew hatred, such as you, Chuck Schumer, and Hakeem Jeffries, that you do every day. This causes your followers to pick up a gauntlet and have to destroy someone's either reputation or take someone's life. This has to come to an end. We have to get back to civil obedience in this country. Law and order is being brought back into several cities. I know the left does not like this because they rely on division, hatred, and anything they can to get a vote. That's not what life is about. It isn't about one vote. It isn't about one idea. It isn't about new ideals that weren't thought of 10 years ago. It's about you and I loving one another and showing compassion to our brothers and sisters in this world as God has planned it for the rest of our lifetime. I look forward and I pray every day that this will take place. So that is our Monday program. A little bit short this morning, but there's so much going on right now that I don't want to add to it, and I certainly will not show some of the other networks and platforms that are showing the actual death of someone. That is none of our business. Your children should never have to see anything of the like. And it's terrible what these new innovations and platforms have been able to bring to the young minds of this country, while our educational system is part and parcel to the destruction of their minds with this nonsense that they have called teaching in the United States in the last decade or so. We need to bring back valid education, get our math scores up, our chemistry, geography, civil, everything should be brought back up. Bring music back to these schools. Don't put so much effort into the sports category of schools and try to make everybody an athlete, because that's not working. Don't try to make everyone a college candidate, because not everyone is college material. Just take a look at the life of Charlie Kirk, and that should prove that to someone at least. So until tomorrow, stay safe, stay strong, and stay tuned to the Kaiser Report for more information, more commentary, and a look-see at the world as we know it. So until tomorrow, bye-bye now. God bless you all.